Hello, friends. I am Chevy. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. And I had a different thing to talk about today, but I did mention yesterday we might continue talking about ChatGPT, and we're going to today because Chris had a good comment on yesterday's video that I want to address, or it might help me address the topic of today. So yesterday, I did a sort of tongue-in-cheek video about ChatGPT writing the episode for me, when really all I did was ask it for some stupid topic ideas, right? And that was kind of Chris's point. But I said yesterday that I wasn't afraid of ChatGPT taking my job as a programmer, and I'm still not, even though that's kind of the talk of the town right now. And so Chris's comment really kind of strikes home, and he said, you know, if you ask ChatGPT to write you a script for an episode, 100% you asked it a generic question and got a generic answer. I was able to get it to write some basic code. Ask direct questions and it'll give surprisingly good results. I asked it to write me a recursive function in C++ that calculates the factorial of a number entered by the user, and bam, done. Yes, it'll do that. So would just Googling that. Like, that's the thing. If you could just Google, I need a C++ function that's a recursive function that returns the factorial of a number, and you will find examples all over the place. And the reason that I'm not afraid that ChatGPT will take my job is because the average person already doesn't know how to do that. They don't know how to Google that. And software developers have joked for 2 decades now that my job is just Googling. And that's true, because we don't really have baked in documentation anymore. You can't just read the manual and figure it out. There's websites where you can go do that, but I could also just ask Google, and Google will find the website for me, serve it to me, and show me the examples on that website. And I think that while doing something like this, a very specific function like this, is well within the means of ChatGPT, telling ChatGPT, I want an application that, you know, searches restaurants in my area, finds only those with 5 stars. It just can't. Can it write functions? Sure. But so can Google. Like, you can just Google it, and you'll find the function that you need. And that's not exactly a super helpful tool. Can it help debug? Kind of. I've seen some people posting on Hacker News some, you know, broken code and asking ChatGPT how to fix it, and it has found some of those things and has said, hey, why don't you look at this? Why don't you look at that? And that's exactly its response, is like, maybe this is wrong, try this. And it doesn't know, right? Because it's not smart. It's just churning out ideas. So I went and asked it, just off the top of my head, my parents currently have an issue with the brakes on their van, right? They needed a new master cylinder. I had diagnosed that the master cylinder, the seal on the brake booster side of the master cylinder was leaking, and fluid was dumping into the brake booster. And so I asked ChatGPT about this specific scenario. I said, first of all, how do I replace a master cylinder? I think it returned 6 steps, and it was really well written. Like, as a mechanic, I could tell you that if you followed those steps that ChatGPT gave you and you understood what it was saying, yes, that is the step-by-step guide on how to replace a master cylinder, and it wasn't telling you anything dangerous. So then I asked ChatGPT, what do I do if there's fluid in my brake booster? And ChatGPT says, replace the brake booster, which is absolutely the wrong answer. Brake boosters don't have fluid. Basically, ChatGPT was telling me that there was a problem with the brake booster and it needed to be replaced. No, that is not the case at all. There should never be fluid in the brake booster. If there's fluid in the brake booster, it's come from somewhere else and something else is wrong. Now, should you replace the brake booster if there's fluid in it? Probably. Brake fluid is very corrosive and will eat the diaphragm that's in the brake booster. But it takes a long time, and chances are you'll find if you just wash it out. But probably should replace it if your master cylinder leaks into your brake booster. So ChatGPT, so I kept asking it, are you sure? And it's like, yeah, it's your brake booster. And so that could be dangerous because that was absolutely the wrong answer. It had no clue what it was saying. And the same thing will happen with programming, and without an actual program developer there to say no, an average person's not going to be able to figure that out. Now, is ChatGPT going to take, make my life easier? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, if it can write code for me, then I don't have to sit there and do all the typing for menial tasks that sometimes take 20, 30, 40 lines. I can just, ChatGPT can just recommend me. I start typing a function with the thing that that Microsoft had running on Copilot, I think it's called. That's pretty cool. You can just start typing a function and it just fills it in for you. That's awesome. But it still takes a developer, it still takes an engineer to know what they're doing, what they're looking at. Like, just because we now have 3D modeling for architecture doesn't mean we don't need architects. Do we need draftsmen? No, we don't need draftsmen. They're not a thing anymore. But we don't need architects. Like, we still need them. Yes, you could model something and say, this program says it's fine, but the architect could tell you 100 different reasons why they're going to have problems, because while it might be structurally fine, it's not built correctly for getting up and down the stairs or whatever. So there's still going to be a need for engineering or at least a guiding hand. Can ChatGPT replace junior developers? Maybe. That's a thing to be really scared of, especially for those menial tasks that sometimes junior devs get stuck with, like, updating the wording on a div or something like that, like just menial front end type stuff, or even just menial features on the back end. Which begs the question of, if ChatGPT replaces the junior developers, then how does somebody become a senior developer if they don't have time and seat, right? I don't know. Like, that's an interesting thought, but I'm not particularly concerned about it. So to illustrate that point a little further, Chris asked ChatGPT to write, tell me a tale about a man named Chevee from West Virginia who shares his life with the world on his show, The Daily Shed. And ChatGPT typed up a little story about me, I guess. And it talks about, once upon a time in the rolling hills of West Virginia, there was a man named Chevee. Chevee was a simple man who lived in a small shed in the woods. Yes, I live in a small shed in the woods. And despite my humble dwelling, I was a man of great charisma and charm. Man, I wish that was true. I wake up every day at the crack of dawn and tend to my garden and chickens. So the point here, if you go read the story, go look at yesterday's video, read the little story. It's about 6 paragraphs, 5-6 paragraphs that ChatGPT typed up. It's not a story. It's a tale. But there is no beginning, middle, and end. It doesn't give you any, like, it's just a snapshot of a day in the life of somebody named Chevee who has a vlog or whatever. It doesn't understand structure of the story. It doesn't understand what it's delivering. It's just using language models to come up with something. And again, those are very generic language models, probably on purpose. Now, does that mean that in the future, ChatGPT, there's something keeping ChatGPT from writing, massive, masterful works of art? No. That can definitely happen. And it's currently, I think, happening. There are services right now where you can supply an outline and their AI engines will write books for you. And from what I understand, there are published authors on Amazon right now using AI to write books. And the books require minimal editing, but they still require editing. But I think that there is a potential future where you could come up with an outline, come up with an idea, and have this program write it for you, and it would be good enough. Would it be award-winning? Maybe not. Maybe so. Who knows? Like, that's the future that we are heading towards. But I don't think it's going to replace human intervention completely. I don't think that you're ever going to be really entertained the way that masterful storytellers entertain. I don't think you're ever going to find AI-generated software that is as human as human-generated software. And I think that there is still going to be a demand, a very, very large demand for human-generated code and art. And regardless of what the AI can do, it still needs a human touch to make it happen. So we'll see. What do you think? Are you feeling like you could be replaced by AI in the future? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is oxymoron. It is a noun meaning a phrase made by combining two words that are contradictory or incongruous. Melissa sheepishly used the oxymoron accidentally on purpose to explain to her father why her emergency credit card included a charge for $500 Manolo Blahnik heels. Oxymoron. O-X-Y-M-O-R-O-N. I always love a good oxymoron. Accidentally on purpose is something I used to say quite a bit. Do you have a favorite oxymoron?